Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. Look, if you're listening to us now, you've probably heard all my spiel about everything we are, what we do, all that, where to find us. But let's do it again because Brent likes me to say it. And
I mean,
he really,
consistency. Consistency.
look, the reason it's starting off crazy is because we've been going strong tonight already with some shows. And this is just a fun show because guess what, Star Wars fans? This is chapter 150, 150 chapters of Rule the Galaxy. And while not everybody could be here tonight, we've got a good group of us. And I just wanted to take time and all of us share some thoughts, share some love to all the people who really support us. But as always, you can follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter, on Instagram, just Rule the Galaxy on Facebook and YouTube. Um, Email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. TikTok is Rule the Galaxy Podcast. And on Etsy, go to Etsy.com, type in all one word, no spaces, Rule the Galaxy in all caps. Go buy some Rule the Galaxy merch, just like this lovely sign if you're watching on YouTube right now, with the sign that DDoc made for us. So it's chapter 150. And we got a couple of our close friends who've been around for almost this whole ride here. And let's just whip it around the room here because Brent Dykeman's already got his hand up. Let's start with Brent.
So I'm going to ask a question, and I've wanted to know this like specifically, and I think you may have addressed this. DDoc, how far in did you join? Because you started as a listener, and then you made the sign, and then we brought you on, and you threw out three things at the end, and was talking about Alfie's helmet, which was the greatest inside joke that we had at the time, which means that you, which shows that you really were a listener. And so, I guess my question to you is, when did you what episode did you start? Like how far into the whole podcasting situation did you start listening? And how
it's
did you
hard
find
to well, number one, I found it through Joey, obviously, with his impersonations and everything like that. And I seen he was a Star Wars fan. And then I was just like, oh, wait a second. He does a podcast with his dad. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, let me give this a listen here. And then I started listening, and I was already into Lego collecting personally. And then I heard them talking about figures, and I'm following Twitter, following Rule of the Galaxy, and I'm like, I don't know. I just pretty much just started listening to you guys. And, it's been a while because I'd say that sign is probably about 50 episodes old, because I think the episode that I joined as a guest was around 97, 96 was the first ever show I did with you guys, because I was on the.
I thought you were in like the 70s, dude. I thought you started in
I don't know.
the
I don't
70s.
remember life before DDoc. I've had kids since then, so
I've had a kid, right? My whole world's changed. I thought you were in the 70s when you joined. Man, okay.
Well, me and Nick have gone through a full pregnancy since I've joined this show.
This is true.
Not you and Nick particularly. Your wife.
Yes, exactly.
I think the title of our show for 150 is "I Don't Remember a World Before DDoc."
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really enjoyed listening to you guys, and I mean that's why I started to listen to an audiobook. I feel like Joe might not even remember, but I feel like I might have messaged Joe and said like, hey, do you know, I'm thinking about starting these novels. I'm like, I was like, I kind of like darker stories. And I was like, do you know any dark Star Wars novels? I feel like he had mentioned Death Troopers to me. And that was the first Star Wars novel I had listened to. And I was just getting onto Twitter at the time. I mean, I give some credit to the pandemic as well. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's part of what got us here.
Yeah,
I agree. And it was Memorial Day. It was Memorial Day weekend when I got the sign a year ago. So that was, it's been more than 50 episodes since I got that sign. And then you kicked in as a full-time member right after, a little bit after that. Because I remember, I think Nick and Alfie and Brent and at the time even Mass, they were like, hey, that DDoc guy's good. I like him. Once you have him come on more, I was like, all right, what the heck? Yeah, gosh, it's hard to think about. And now
It
we've
is.
got you hosting shows, Nick hosting shows. We've got Jessica, the Duchess, hosting shows. Brent's gonna start hosting some shows. This thing is, it's going all over the place, baby. It's all over.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
The
Nick.
network.
Yeah, which I thought was Brent. I like that question. I actually, one of the most vivid Star Wars memories I have, or Star Wars. Sorry, it's late. Star Wars, like Rule of the Galaxy memories was before I ever came on my first show, which was at my in-laws' house in a different state. Which now they live in Nashville, and I'm recording this tonight in their house again, which is weird poetic justice in and of itself. But I was doing. I think there had been like 8 or 9 episodes that had come out, and the first one I listened to was Brent, you being interviewed and talking about being in your grandparents' house with the checkered chair, pressing the buttons, doing the kind of thing. And I remember driving to go pick up food for the family to like bring home, and driving and being like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what do you mean you hate the prequels? Like, what do you only to become good friends and appreciate your takes in so many different ways. And I think that's been the beauty of, this show is how many different generations of Star Wars are represented, but how the love is, of the whole thing is all throughout. So no, I've come around to see your ways, Brent. I'm all about the new. Bring it on, man.
Well, I mean, think about it. 100 episodes ago or 50 episodes ago, none of us wanted anything to do with Dooku, and now we all, again, we are all thinking about starting shirts with Dooku's hilt on it.
I'm bringing him in. He's right there.
I mean, so a couple of things. There was a guy that he moved out of state. I mean, he probably still listens to me. David Rosemarin played Legions, and he started listening to the podcast. We drove to a tournament up in Fort Wayne, and he brought up the fact that during that episode of the podcast where you guys, I wasn't on, but it was you and Tony, everybody was going crazy. And he's like, but I almost fell out of my car when I was driving because somebody was like, can you get the hand? Like, what happens if the kid swallows the hands with they should make a Dooku doll with detachable hands. And then somebody's like, but what happens if the kid swallows it? So you take the kid to the doctor, and he's like, hey, can you get those hands back? I need it for my collectible.
Yeah.
And he said that like that almost made him fall out of his car while he was driving because it was one of the best statements he'd heard, which then got me like, I had to defend my Dooku and all of that stuff. But like, it was awesome. One, that somebody was listening to us and like, again, making comments as I was driving. And I didn't realize it was going to be and have as much sticking power as it did. And I love the fact that it's still a shtick if it's somebody brand new. And even if I'm not on the podcast, because it was it's kind of my shtick. But the fact that I was listening to the Rick Prince interviews with Nick and DDoc, and they brought it back up too. It is a running bit throughout the whole thing. And I love the fact that that's the case.
I love that we called him Stumpy.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the original Stumpy, Klieg Lars.
Oh.
Klieg. Klieg.
Yeah.
Oh, Klieg.
I'm going through my, here we go. Dave Jones, who's been a guest on the show, and he's a longtime listener of the show, and he's part of that Georgia, South Georgia,
the Georgia Mafia, the Star Wars Georgia Mafia.
Yes. When I asked people, I was like, what do you think? 150th show. He says, I love it when you guys talk or reference your love of Mara Jade, which we do quite often. He said, I think it's great, along with the Dooku's hilt. I always pop for that. So
I'm so glad that flicks his big. That makes me so
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's my first episode. That's the first episode I was on.
DDoc, that's right.
That might be the title of that show. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yep.
Right. Are we talking favorite memories right now?
Sure. Go ahead.
Because for me, I didn't, I've not been listening to Star Wars podcasts for very long. But getting to meet Ryfin and Steve Glosson and Adam Bray, and I can't remember what episode it was. Goodness, we talk about it now. But it had been a long day at work. I came home made an old fashioned. We're on the podcast, and Glosson starts doing his David Attenborough.
Oh,
Uh,
gosh, yes.
and I'm telling you, I had to mute myself because I was laughing like such an idiot on the other side of my computer screen. I'm laughing. I'm laughing thinking about it now.
Oh God, he
The
had a
Wampa.
very
That.
good and the Wampa of the
Yes.
Hoth system. Be careful,
yeah.
they
And
eat
the
they
Wampa.
eat.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And
Desolate world.
he went
Oh.
with like the Kowakian monkey lizard, and
Uh-huh.
he went into like the pterodactyl or what? Not pterodactyl, but the verodactyl or whatever it's called.
Yep.
Like,
Oh yeah, the one
Oh.
that Obi-Wan
oh
rides.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that honestly, when you started going and said Steve Glosson, exactly that, I knew that's where you were going because
Oh my gosh.
that was fantastic.
I look back and yes, Joey and I started this and it was his idea. And he said, Dad, look, I've got the opportunity. I got a radio studio, that's where he worked at the time. And he said, let's just go use the studio. Let's talk Star Wars. You're an older fan, I'm a newer fan. Let's rule the galaxy as a father and son, obviously, where the title came from. And after he started on with Barstool and they said, nah, we want you to do an hour stuff, not your own. Um, he's like, well, I got to shut it down. So we were down for what, 2 months, I think. And I
Yeah.
said, Joey, that was a lot of fun. And he said, Dad, you have friends who love Star Wars. You have buddies. Just start it and see what happens. And that was at episode 10 or 11, I
Yeah.
think. 10 or 11. We started back up just individually. I was meeting some of you individually on our interviews, and others we'd known each other for a while, and we were just winging it. And I tell you what, that was some of the most fun for me, was figuring out what the heck are we doing. And the first two episodes where I was interviewing people, Joey was sitting across the desk from me while I was doing it, and he was like holding up things like, ask this, ask that.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
like, okay. I mean, because that's what he does, right? He's been on so much social media and so many interviews that he just said, Dad, just talk like nobody else is there, just you and that other person.
Yeah.
And that's what we started doing. And I think when I look at it, I think that's what's made it to where the people who do listen to us, that's what they like, is that we don't talk like we're giving some big speech and we're not up on a stage. It's just a bunch of people having fun and sharing ideas and laughing and doing something that takes us away from the everyday world, right? So that's what I hope comes out of it 150 episodes later. So yeah, good.
Yeah, and there was a guy who recently had commented, I forget what it was, but he had said one of the best parts of the show is that all of us kind of come from different backgrounds, different opinions, different things that we love, but it all just kind of meshes together into one show. And it's not like we're sitting here yelling at each other if we disagree or getting pissed off or anything like that. I mean, honestly, that was, I would love the dynamic if there was ever a disagreement with Alfie and Brent. That was one of my favorite things.
I love those.
Yes. Even in our group text, if it happens, I'm like locked into the group text, just like, let's see where this goes.
That actually is my favorite part of the group text. You are correct,
Yeah.
DDoc. When and they both know they're jabbing each other, like for fun, but still it comes off a little bit like, hey, you ass. No, you're more of an ass,
Yeah.
Alfie gets so like clinically sarcastic.
Snarky.
It's
There's a lot of snark in what he says.
I didn't even realize he was. He might have been sarcastic towards me today when I said I didn't know all the directors for Andor. He was like, "Hey, sorry if I, sorry." I'm like,
It was in
I
the
didn't
article.
realize it.
It was in the article. Come on,
Yeah.
DDoc. It was in the article.
It's
I
in
mean,
the Empire article.
Not like every one of us reads every article like Alfie does. That's why he is the book of Alfie. I wish he could be here tonight, but he's got to be at work at 1:30 in the morning, and I don't know how he does it. The man works like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. But he's taking care of his family. And I guess that is the most important thing. Real quick, hey, I did one of those crazy circle things on Twitter today just to see kind of who interacts with us the most. And so obviously just looking at this, quick shout outs to some people who have been with us, for the long haul. Okairo, obviously, Wikipedia, believe it or not, Wikipedia interacts with us a ton. Supreme Emperor, man, you thanks for keeping people around us. Miriam Skywalker, Adam Bray, obviously Duchess Jessica. She's around us all the time. Rural Farm Boy. I mean, come on, he's always around there. I wish I knew more of these people actually. Like personally, I see their Twitter handles come up, and I'm like, hey, we're always interacting, but I don't know their real names. It's like I just know them as whatever. And so it's really weird. But Scott Rifen, Steven Stanton, Tom Line, Damon One Kenobi, Willie Harms, T Bob, obviously, Jack Harvey, which, that's a surprising story here in the last few months. Is Joey has gotten to know Jack because of IndyCar, and Jack's from Great Britain. He races IndyCar. This dude is as tore up about Star Wars as all of us are. And it's so cool to think that here's this guy that, he's doing all these cool things that we were like, who wouldn't want to drive an IndyCar, right? But he interacts with us like crazy. So it's really kind of cool. Go ahead, Brent.
He posed on May the 4th with the Darksaber, and then his helmet was all done up with like a space battle with TIE fighters and Star Destroyers and X-Wings. So it's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's just an awesome guy. And he actually, I think after the racing season, I think we'll have him on a show. But go ahead, Nick.
Well, okay. We skipped past one that I want to give due credit for because it's one of my favorite moments yet on this podcast. When we were at ICCC and we had gone back to back from Ian McDermott and Anthony Daniels, and then they cleared the room and said, you can't stay in the room. We're going to do the panel of, Ashley Eckstein, Matt Stover, James Arnold Taylor, all these people for the Clone Wars reunion thing. And they cleared the whole room, and we walked out and we realized, oh my gosh, this line is like 150 people deep. There's no way we're getting into this thing. I can't believe we're all the way here and we're not going to get to see this and do this. And from like a beacon of hope standing in front, I just hear, hey, Nick. And I turn and I look, and it's Willie Harms wearing a Rule the Galaxy, or has a Rule the Galaxy shirt draped over his shoulder, standing in line. And he goes, well, just jump in with us, man, and jump in right here. And to this day, one of the coolest, like, I can't believe, like, we were at ICC, and one, somebody knew about Rule the Galaxy, but two, that he goes, yo, you're my guy. Get in here. I thought it was up. So Willie Harms, still to this day, one of my favorite Star Wars memories, maybe ever.
And Brent, I loved Brent's comment. I think ICC was awesome because it did allow us to do some of that. We met Duchess, in person right there. Met Timothy Zahn. But when I walked out of the room for a little bit, and I came back, and Brent was like, "Hey, somebody came in and was like, hey, Brent," and Brent was like, "You know me?"
Yeah. I was like, hey, what's up, Brent? I was like, yeah. Willie Harms. He's like, I'm Willie Harms. I was like, oh, I know the name from all that others, like from all the interactions, but I was like, you actually knew who I was. Like,
yes. That
floored me. Then to find out that he basically grew up in the same general vicinity of where I grew up. I'm not saying it's the same area because I know you're going to be listening to this and it's not Peoria, but you can claim it.
Guys, can you believe, and I've got more lists on the names here. I mean, come on, we met Anna Graves, but real quick, can you believe that we have now
the interviews?
The interviews we've done?
I was gonna go with the people that we've had as guests.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I was going to say before we even start that, I mean, here's this group of diverse people, like Nick said. I mean, we're different ages, come from different backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. And we've got one host who lives in the Philadelphia area, and here we are, a bunch of guys from Indianapolis. And Brent, like you said, we've got people who've come on to our show where we're thinking, how do we get these people on there? And we've got more lined up. We've got some people lined up that, I mean, are going to be great. It's just really cool. But so who are some of your favorite interviews that we've done so far, guys?
Oh, damn. I'll jump in right away just because number one, I'm still new to them, but I'd say to have the audiobook guys on Jonathan Davis and Mark Thompson. I'm a big audiobook guy because I don't know. I don't have the attention span or the time to just sit there and read a book, which is if I have free time, I need to be doing something. And the fact that I can throw on my headphones, like I've been taking wallpaper down in my kitchen over the last couple of days, and I'm listening to the first book of the Darth Bane trilogy, and I'm listening to Jonathan Davis, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I don't even like I just started a couple of I was listening to I think Master and Apprentice, which I'm pretty sure he did,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I had a conversation with this guy, and here I am so lost in this book that he is just dominating the narration on, man. And I think that's one of the best parts about this Bane book that I'm getting lost in it is that his narration is amazing. And I know he's coming up on our podcast again, which I can't wait for that. But it's like the fact that we've gotten to talk to those guys, I mean, those guys have spoken to a lot of Star Wars fans
Mhm.
through their audiobooks. And I think that's just one of the coolest things because they're both just Star Wars fans just like us. Like Joe said, when our show starts, it's just a bunch of guys talking Star Wars, and it feels so natural talking to them. It almost doesn't feel like they're on this pedestal. It feels like they're just in the group with us talking, and you're just like, man, this guy has recorded like hundreds of audiobooks. So that's what I'll shout out to.
Yep. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I would agree. The time I felt like the biggest idiot on this podcast, and not idiot like I feel stupid, idiot like giddy, was when we had Mark Thompson on, not just once, but the second time. And it was like it was straight. We've referenced this a ton on this, but it was straight out of that Chris Farley sketch where it's like, so you do the Thrawn voice. Can you do that voice? Like, can we hear you? Like for me, I was like trying not to be that guy, but I was so that guy of just kind of like, hey, remember when you did Heir to the Empire? That was awesome. Yeah, like that was so great. That was a great one. I what's been fun too is the people that I didn't know were a big deal. And then I got to know him and then started following him on Twitter. And I was like, oh, you're a bigger deal than, and they're hopefully if they're listening to this, they don't hate me for this, but like Mark Newbold, right. From Fantha Tracks when we interviewed him in London, like how cool was that? Right. Like getting to talk, Star Wars Insider a little bit. Shame on me. I didn't know who Ryan McGee was when we first jumped on. And then I'm watching ESPN2 like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, we just talked to him. Like it was him and Marty.
Yeah.
Marty
They got
Smith.
their own podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, which was so cool, and so I think it's been such a cool opportunity to get to know, I know I'm forgetting people as we do this, but and of course, and I'm stealing somebody's thunder here on this, but getting to meet T-Bob. Anytime we get T-Bob on the podcast, it's like clear the calendar. We got to get on there and do it because it's so freaking fun.
You got to make sure though.
You
got to make sure that he understands that we're not on Central Time as well. Like so.
I have these two Legos together just for him. They always will. They will always stand next together for T-Bob. They're on my shelf, standing with each other. So T-Bob, that's for you.
I mean, when he brought that on, he's like, him, Chewie, and her out doing it in the Falcon out there, and then you're just like, oh.
And the record scratched, and
we're like, wait, hold up. That's like talking about Brent and the Padme uniform. Yeah.
Hey, no, it happens.
It happens. I agree with you guys. There's been some great ones. What's funny is, I've been listening to podcasts, Star Wars podcasts, since like 2010, I think, because I was just a nerd and I was trying to consume anything I could. And then when the Disney purchase happened, I was like all in, listening to everybody's discussion points. But, to think that I was listening to Steve Glosson and Scott Rifen and Adam Bray, and they were all on their show, My Star Wars Story and Geek Out Loud. But then they'd also go on Rebel Force Radio with Jimmy and Jason. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, these guys talk to Jimmy and Jason. They're really cool. I like listen to them, and I reach out to them, and I reach out to Mark Newbold, and it was just like, hey, I run a Star Wars podcast. Will you be on? Sure. And now it's like they just tell me when you want me on, and we'll be on there with you. And to add on to that, to then go to the ICCC and be standing there, and Jimmy and Jason are doing their show in front of us, and I go and say hi to them and say, hey, can I get a picture with you and just say hi? And they were like, yeah, come on out here in the hallway. And they knew who my son was. They were like, oh, you're Joey's dad? I'm like, yeah. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, Jimmy and Jason know who my son is. I know who they are. Here we are taking pictures together. And those guys, I mean, they took half an hour and just sat in the hallway and talked to me about Star Wars stuff and about podcasting. Cause I was asking them, what do you think about this? Or what do you think? And they were more than happy to share their time. So just, you're right. The people we met, I mean, it's just blown me away that we've been able to do this, and we've got more things lined up coming up soon. And yes, Ryan McGee was supposed to be on with us, and he got called out to California recently to go cover all this Big Ten news with USC and UCLA. So he's out there zooming on that and the Pac-10 news, and I mean, that's what he does. So he's like, okay, I'm going to be on soon. Let's do this again. And yeah, guys, that stuff just blows me away sometimes. And I don't know if you guys talk to your significant others about this, but I tell them, oh my gosh, we had such and such on. And they're like, who? What? Who's
Yeah,
that?
so true.
And you're like, oh, sorry. I that's just me getting really excited about that. And I'm like, honey, that would be like you meeting Kate Spade or, but so the other thing is I look at this and yes, I'm glad we have listeners and followers and all that kind of stuff. It blows me away, and we appreciate all of them. But we talk about it, and recently Matt Orman of ECPC TV was talking to us about it. I mean, I think we've become kind of a little family here, and I know that Nick and Brent and I and Alfie got a chance to go to Nashville. I know DDoc, baby was on the way and couldn't make it, but we're kind of a little family. We're I have two brothers, but I feel like you guys are like brothers to me now in what we do. And I really appreciate you guys so much taking the time that you do, taking the time away from your families, being a part of this. It just means a lot to me. And for being something silly as just talking about Star Wars and making each other laugh, it still means an awful lot. So I do appreciate it. I appreciate all the effort you put in. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, and quick joke, and you're going to squirm as we do this, so I'm just going to preface it with that.
Thanks.
But goodness gracious, Joe, none of us would be even on this Zoom call, of the 150 episodes we've done. I think you've hosted 139 of them in somewhere right around there. So goodness, thanks for putting together this, you said the word family, but putting together this, ragtag little group that gets to talk Star Wars and do this. And I wouldn't be able to talk Star Wars like we do. I wouldn't have the zeal if it wasn't for you. So thank you.
I will second that,
Appreciate
because
that.
I was listening to a Geek Out Loud episode that was with Scott Rifen and Steve Glosson about the Gate, where which started on Rebel Force, or not Rebel Force, on Rule the Galaxy.
Yep.
Rifen called Glosson out for making an when he brought up Scott Rifen's name, and they both had sound clips of the interview and were playing them back to each other. However, when they started talking about it, they both said, anytime he asked, I'll go on because I love Joe. Right? It wasn't necessarily I love the guy. They then threw the guys on at the end, but they do, like, you're the draw, you are the magnet to all of this, and your charisma pulls everybody in. So I want to make sure to make you squirm a little bit more, because you say thank you, but again, we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for your charisma and your passion that gets shown through.
I appreciate that. I do. And while I drive my wife crazy with it, and I think we can all say that we drive our wives crazy with things like this, it means something to me, and this show means something to me. What we're doing, whether it's on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on everything else we do, it means something to me that that you guys will take the time, and then we put in this effort, and we have so much fun with it. And you know what, Nick, you were talking about being giddy, and DDoc, you're talking about how excited you are about reading Darth Bane. In just a few weeks, we will take one hour plus and have Drew Karpyshyn on, and it will be us and Drew. We're going to talk about his new book, which I've said, let's talk about your new book because he wants to promote it. But he said the rest of the time, we're going to talk about Star Wars. And that kind of thing right there, to think that I love the Darth Bane trilogy and I love Revan, to have that guy who wrote those. I mean, Jonathan Davis and Mark Thompson do a great job narrating it, but it's only great because of what he wrote. So I'm really excited about that. Go ahead, Brent.
To go one step further on Drew Karpyshyn, when you do and you look at his website, and this is pulling in what our friend DDoc did just a couple days ago with the video game with Lugo. I can't think of the full name.
Jake James.
Yep, Jake James Lugo. Yep,
Jake James Lugo. One of the top Star Wars games that is talked about, KOTOR, or Knights of the Old Republic. He was working with BioWare and a developer on that game, which led him to writing the Knights of the Old Republic, the Revan book. That I think he wrote 2 of the series, like the first one and the last one, and then he also then wrote the Bane books. And I think those came. I don't know exactly the timeline. We can talk to him about it, but the fact that he's also involved in some of the most respected video games in the video game world for Star Wars as well.
Yep.
Go ahead, D-Doc.
And I'm not letting you get away with a third squirm, because I gotta give Joe another shout out, because I didn't get in on the Joe train. But I want to talk more about that sign, because I was telling my wife, I'm like, these guys run a great freaking podcast, and I'm like, he's on YouTube, and I'm like, I feel like he needs to have. I'm like, they have a great logo, and I feel like he needs to have it in his background behind him. And I'm like, I feel like I could make that. Like, I love the look of it. And that was why, as I was like, these guys are so good. I was like, if I could just throw him something, just because I feel like I connect with Joe and you guys, I'm like, that's what I'll do to kind of, enhance the, clips or whatever. If he has that Rule the Galaxy sign behind him, because I remember I saw a comment on the podcast reviews where a guy was just like, I came here because I had followed Joey and knew what he did, and I stayed for Joe. A guy
I thought that was you.
No,
Based
no,
upon
it's not me.
Based upon your answer to my question at the very beginning of this, I swear to God, I thought that was your review.
Wow.
No, I don't know who
I
he
came
is.
for Joey, stayed for
listening,
Joe.
Yeah, and if he's listening, shout out to him. But that is not me. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I wanted to add on to that. But as and I'll continue on to your thought, as I'm listening to this Path of Destruction book, I can't believe we're gonna have him on. I'm gonna binge these books and finish them, because I'm lost in them right now.
Well, there's no way I'm going to be able to reread them again or re-listen to them again by the time we have them on. But I can tell you what I did do is I pulled up like 4-page synopsis of each book, and I've been writing notes next to them already, because I was like, I don't want to screw this up. I mean, I want to do this right.
Cliff notes, huh? You're using Cliff notes, huh?
Well, I've listened to the books twice, but I want to have some notes right in front of me.
Brent, the educator, has a problem with that.
Not at all. I just wanted to tease.
One line that I'll say has stood out to me so far in that book, me being about 1/3 through it, I'd say. I think I have maybe about 7 hours left in it, so maybe I'm almost at half. The one line where they said, when Bane was going to get trained, and they're just like, the Jedi will train kids younger, and they're just like, I won't be surprised when they're taking babies away from kids. It's like, or from their families, to train them. And it was interesting to me. It's like, it's very interesting to hear the dynamic of the Sith in this book, looking at the Jedi, just like, yeah, that's like screwed up. They're taking kids and kind of, training them from when they're so young, they don't have a second thought, but to know what the Jedi is, compared to them training Bane, who's already a grown man,
So are you reading the second one then? Are you on the second one?
I'm on the first one. I think
okay.
it's Path of Destruction, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I wasn't sure where. Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much right where I'm at is there was just spoilers to anyone who hasn't read these books. There was just a bit of a space battle, and I'm terrible with names. I always sit there and bring up the names of everybody in the novels because I'm listening to the audiobooks. But yeah, one of the Sith Lords just screwed everybody up in the book, and he's still kind of training right now. It's talking about how he's to the point where he's kind of past the holocrons, and he's more so focused on using his force power, which I love the buildup they've given. This needs to be a movie, man.
Oh, yeah.
The buildup of this is just like, oh my God, you have a trilogy right here. I can't imagine what's going to happen in the future of this. I don't know. I know you guys do, but just
Have you
the layout of this story is just awesome so far.
All
have
three books are
you
great.
have you heard the training sequence in the rain?
Maybe that I might be getting close. I might be getting close
I
to
don't.
that
So
because
like that stuck out to me. I'm just I'm not sure. I don't. That second book. Damn it. See, like that's the problem. That's the problem with everything is once you like.
Notes.
So DDoc, like you say, you're consumed. You're in the middle of it. I found these because it was the first one that I went to was the Bane one because I listened to the Lothal Library that these two gentlemen did about the Bane trilogy. And Ryan Massengill teased me enough and basically sarcastically goaded me into reading them or listening to them. It was also right when I found and discovered Star Wars Legion and started building the terrain.
So as I was painting,
so I was building my trees and my terrain while I was listening to that book. It was during fall break. Again, educator. I had a lot of time on my hands. In the 7 days, I finished 2 books in 7 days, and they're 15 hours ish a piece. That's a lot of listening, but like it was, and all of that stuff, all of the stories just kind of run together with them. So sorry if I brought something.
No,
I can believe it. That's why I'm excited to have him on, and I don't doubt that I'm going to be caught up by the time we do, just because his writing style. There's honestly, I really can't say there's been any downtime since I've started this book. Even when there is downtime, you're interested in it. You know, you're wondering what his thoughts are. I mean, just the whole Sabak scene in the beginning.
Oh.
I'm like sitting there I'm tearing wallpaper, and I'm just like, what the hell is going to happen? Is he going to lose all his freaking money right now? And like, you know, like
that's awesome.
But I also know that I now know how to play freaking Sabak. Like that, like I've heard of Sabak, but now I actually, when they say an idiot's array, I know what an idiot's array is, and it's a good hand. Like I didn't know that before.
And that's what I give this podcast credit to.
There
I
you
would
go.
not be doing this if it was not for you
That's
guys.
it.
It's
6-inch black
all full
figures
circle.
and audiobooks.
Just to
Go
throw
ahead,
this,
Brent.
just to throw this out there, there's command cards in my game, and Lando Calrissian is a commander. He has a command card that's called Idiot's Array. Just to let you know, like there's one called All In, and there's another one called Idiot's Array. So they bring in stuff from the Anakin Skywalker card. It's his flaw card. This is not a story a Jedi would tell, is the title of the card for his flaw. Like there are people that like watch the movies and put in quotes to like, that's just a whole level of that game.
Well, I am look, I've kept you guys really late tonight. I know people who are listening don't know that, but we're going really late, and for Brent that's okay because he's got time down right now. Not for Alfie.
But no, well, so my wife has goaded me into this physical challenge thing. I could win $1,000, but I gotta go 10 weeks in a row, and basically every day 10 weeks in a row. So when school starts up, my new school is going to be starting at like 6 o'clock. So I'm going to have to go to like a 5 a.m. workout class. So guess what I get to do tomorrow at 5 a.m.? Go kickbox and punch bags.
Good for you. Hey,
pretend that you're Darth Bane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, any closing thoughts from you guys? 150th episode. I didn't want to do a big to do, but I just wanted to do it because I felt like it was important, and you know, with all of us together, as many of us that could be together anyway. You know, shout out to Mass, shout out to Vinny, shout out to Tony Molinaro, shout out to Joey. I know you guys, you know, you're out there, you're still listening, you're still checking in with us, but for the crew, you know, we're only missing Alfie really out of the main crew here on this show. So any closing thoughts, any things you guys want to hit on before we cut away from episode 150?
Love doing this, Joe.
Yep.
That's
It's
it.
seriously it's the escape now. Like there's things have come up and I can't quite get in every week, right? And
Sure.
the two DDoc with the two new babies and Shesky. But as I say, I'll throw this in here. It's always fun to get an escape and talk the wars.
Agreed. Agreed. I will also say this. My kind of closing thoughts on all this. There might be people who listen to us and say, sometimes they kind of rag on things. We do it out of love. In all actuality, we love Star Wars. We all love different angles of it. We have different points of view on it, but we love it, and we like to share all this together in this little brotherhood, and with Jessica, a family of guys and her all sharing time and energy related to this. So, look, we appreciate everybody who listens. We appreciate everybody who follows us on social media, everything like that. We can't thank you enough. And again, these guys were kind enough to say those words about me, but really it comes down to we're a group, we're a team, and we work well together because we come at it from different angles, and we just share some fun and some laughter and love together. So thank you everybody for being a part of Rule the Galaxy. To Nick, to Brent, to DDoc, to Alfie, who I know is here in spirit, but he's already asleep. Thanks to you guys for making this great. And you know what? We've got so much good stuff coming up. It's not even funny. So thanks so much. And until episode 151, may the force be with you.